So if you love Les Pauls, this may just be the guitar you've been looking for your entire life. Hi everyone, welcome back to the Ministry of Guitar. I'm Utkarsh coming to you from Singapore. As always, if you like what I'm doing, please do like, subscribe and share. For regular viewers, you may be noticing that my upload schedule has changed. Yes, it has. I'm doing less uploads so I can focus a little bit more on writing and music. And there is some further change coming to this channel, which we will talk about at a different time. All right. Now, as guitarists, we tend to live a little bit of an oxymoronic existence. And when I say oxymoronic, I mean that we do things that contradict each other. For me, the Les Paul design is a great example of that, because the Les Paul was a design from the 1950s. The world has come significantly forward since the 1950s. And so if you play something like a Gibson R9 or something, you will recognize what an antiquated design it is. So if that was entirely true, then the tempting thing to do would be, hey, just get a modern guitar and it'll do everything better than a Les Paul can do it. But when you get the most ultra-modern, the most ergonomic, the most amazing modern guitar, then you realize that that's not it. Because even though it doesn't necessarily make any logical sense, it doesn't make any scientific sense, so to speak, a modern guitar just doesn't give you the same, the modern design rather, doesn't give you the same soul, it doesn't give you the same feeling. You could call it whatever you want, but it is not the same as playing a Les Paul. If you like playing a Les Paul, you just like a Les Paul. And I, for one, know that feeling really, really well. So it's oxymoronic. On one hand, we do need guitars that function. It's a tool to create music. At the same time, sometimes designs that shouldn't work at all or are horribly outdated just work. But they don't work as well because there are compromises. All of this brings me to the guitar that I'm holding in my hand. Because I was thinking about it the other day. Someone asked me, what's the best Les Paul for the real world? What's the best Les Paul for a modern player? What's the best Les Paul if you like everything that makes a Les Paul, but doesn't necessarily have to completely conform to everything that Gibson put into motion in the 1950s? I thought about it. I was tempted to say the PRS McCarthy 594, but the 594 is essentially an improvement of the design of the 50s, but it is sticking to a lot of its holy cows. It still has the regular Les Paul knob shape. It still is in every element just an improved version of what they built in the 50s. So it's not quite the 594. Then on the other hand, I thought of things that were not exactly Les Pauls like at all, but they kind of had the spirit of the Les Paul. A lot of single cut guitars, sometimes single cut guitars with tremolos, etc., etc. But then if you like Les Pauls, a single cut guitar with a tremolo may not entirely do it for you. That's when I realized that hanging right behind me as I just took it off the wall was something that answered that question. And it's this guitar. This is a very, very limited guitar. It's not a usual model, but I think accidentally PRS, and it's the PRS guitar, as you probably guessed from the headstock, created what would probably be the best Les Paul for the real world. Now let me explain. Let's get into what makes a Les Paul, what makes a great Les Paul a Les Paul. Let's get into some of the weaknesses of a Les Paul, and let's get into what an ideal, real world, real player 2024 Les Paul looks like. There are a few elements of what makes a Les Paul a Les Paul. It has to have a single cut body. If you don't have a single cut body, it isn't really a Les Paul. I know I have my guitar there that is inspired by a Les Paul. It's a McCarthy 594, heavily customized. But a Les Paul player will always want a single cut. Most will. So let's just say that this is a Les Paul shape. The second thing that you typically need on a Les Paul, with some exceptions, such as Jimmy Page, is the thick neck. If you think of the most popular vintage Les Paul design, the 1959, the R9, it has a nice big thick neck. It's part of the Les Paul experience. Some will swear it adds tone, some will say it does something else. All I know is it feels a certain way and nothing else feels quite like that. There's that. The third thing is the Les Paul needs to make a very specific kind of sound. It needs to make a very sweet neck pickup sound. It needs to make a very ballsy bridge pickup sound. Lastly, a good Les Paul is always something that tends to weigh a little bit less. You have to find the right piece of wood, you have to find the right guitar. Those are all the things that make a Les Paul beyond anything else. The sound, the look, the feel. Then I thought about the weaknesses of a Les Paul. Weakness of a Les Paul honestly has to be versatility, because you don't get those really thin sounds that you need sometimes. Say you want to play RHCP, say you want to play, I don't know, Stevie Ray Vaughan or anyone. You don't get that particular sound. You don't get that percussiveness that you can get on a Strat. That's one weakness. Second weakness is, if you've ever played an R9, you know that it's not entirely impossible to play up the neck. I mean, Slash plays November Rain on a 1959 kind of Les Paul, but it's not the easiest thing in the world either. So if it could be slightly easier, why not? So accessibility, ergonomics are definitely an opportunity. And even in the shape of the guitar, there is an opportunity for it to be a little bit more ergonomic. Then on the sound is the biggest opportunity, right? It does not cut through. When I think of this guitar, and this guitar, I'm going to tell you what it is in a second, it kind of does everything that a Les Paul does well, yet it solves all of the Les Paul's problems. So let me explain. This is a PRS. This is not a McCarty. All of you are thinking McCarty 594, whatever. This is not a McCarty. This is a P245 semi-hollow limited edition. And let's break that down, shall we? We'll come to P at the end. We'll come to that at the end. So 245, P245. 245 refers to the scale length. So Les Pauls have a 24.75 scale length. Vintage Les Pauls have a 24.594 scale length. This has an even slightly shorter 24.5 scale length. What this means is this feels like a Les Paul. It has a short scale length. It has that sweet sound because of the shorter scale length, etc. 22 frets. So that's the name, P245, semi-hollow. And semi-hollow is what makes it a limited edition, because this guitar usually came in a solid body, but semi-hollow was a very limited run, I think from 2016. I just checked the headstock number. Now, the neck, the specs. Let's talk about this guitar. It has what's called a wide fat neck in PRS terminology, but in my experience, and I've played the wide fat neck on other models on the PRS, and I know that they do everything with machines and everything, so I don't have the explanation for you. But this has one of the chunkiest feeling 6-string necks I've ever felt on a PRS. It feels very Gibson-like. I really like how it feels, because I played Epiphone/Gibson for a very long time. So this has the right neck. If you're a Les Paul player and you know the feeling, when you pick up a guitar that's not a Les Paul and you feel the neck, you're like, doesn't quite feel right. It doesn't feel this. When you put it on you, it has that body shape. We'll talk about some adjustments, and it has that neck. And you're like, yeah, this is a Les Paul. So that's number one. Number two, the body shape, we talked about it. It has a small adjustment over here. Very small belly, tummy, whatever cut you want to call it. It's not significant enough that you will feel that, hey, it's becoming too modern, but yet it just kind of works. It's kind of, you know how a Les Paul doesn't always sit in your lap perfectly, but sometimes it just does? This just sits perfectly in your lap all the time. So it's like it's making the Les Paul a little bit easier for you. So there's that. Now let's talk about the rest of the guitar. Specs wise, it's 2 humbuckers. We'll get into electronics in a second. It's 24.5 inch scale, rosewood fretboard, locking tuners, a big advantage. PRS makes some of the best locking tuners in the business. So if you think about another issue, oh my God, I forgot the most important issue. Tuning stability. Tuning stability on this guitar is probably as good as it gets on any guitar, because it has, of course, a PRS hardtail. We'll get into this in a second, and it has PRS locking tuners. So this thing, you can play an entire gig, it will not touch tuning. It's that good. So that biggest bugbear that you have with Les Pauls of tuning stability, gone, easy. It's no longer a problem. So it's got the standard 22 frets, 2 humbuckers. We'll get into them in a second. Hardtail. And the traditional, if you are a Les Paul player, you expect your neck, your switch over here. It's got that. Now we get to the name P, and we get to the electronics, where you see 3 knobs, not 4, and you see a switch. So what's going on here? There's a master volume, there's a master tone, there's a coil split, and there's a piezo. The P in the name stands for piezo. The normal guitar is called SC245, SC standing for single cut, and the special guitar, the piezo guitar, is called the P245, piezo 245. So you've got a humbucker. This is called a I think this one has the 5815s. It has the 5815s. These are humbuckers inspired by 1958 Les Pauls. For all practical purposes, they are very nice sounding PAFs. Not the lowest output PAFs out there, but pretty decent, reasonably bright. So you've got 5815s on front and back, and you've got a coil split. So immediately you get a bigger spectrum of tones. Secondly, the thing with the piezo, a lot of people are confused about the purpose of piezo. Most people say, I don't want piezo because I don't need to play acoustic, or if I want to play acoustic, I'd rather just play an acoustic guitar. Yes, simulating an acoustic guitar is the main purpose of a piezo. I understand that everyone doesn't need it, but it's surprising the amount of versatility it can add to your ability to do songs, especially if you play in some sort of a cover band. Like what we do in Singapore is we play in a band that does everything from Bollywood to Metallica to Red Hot Chili Peppers to everything in between that. So having the ability to sound like an acoustic guitar is amazing. But more than that, piezo also adds high end. So what you can do is in this very, very warm guitar, just by blending in the piezo in the middle position for the switch. So switch goes from magnetic only, blend of piezo and magnetic, piezo only. Just by being in the middle position, you can blend in high end. You can add high end. Think of the problems that you often have with Les Pauls of not having cut through or not having enough spank or not having enough, just that frequency that you miss when you have a Fender. A lot of that frequency, I'm not saying this will sound like a Strat, but a lot of that frequency can be dialed in using the piezo blend. So that's another invaluable reason why I'm calling out the P245, not the SC245 as the Les Paul that you'd really, maybe you don't want it, but maybe you will really need. This is the Les Paul you really need. And what is it I want to say? Other thing that I wanted to say about it is that semi-hollow, yes. Why the semi-hollow? Why do I recommend this? Semi-hollow, it's a little difficult to say what exactly it does to most people. When you play it, you will know it. In theory, it makes the tone more airy and all of that. That's what jazz guitarists use, all of that. In practical purposes, how I think of semi-hollow, because when I bought this guitar, I actually there's a long story about this guitar, which I will not get into this video. That's a different video altogether. But I essentially A-B'd this guitar against a normal non-semi-hollow. And what I always found is that the semi-hollow just has a little bit extra. It's almost like you've put in a nice compressor on top, like a little bit. It just is very nice. You won't notice it when you have never heard of it, but you hear it and you take it away. You're like, where did it go? So it's got that. The flip side of a semi-hollow is if you really want to do staccato, hardcore riffing with a lot of palm mutes and all, ultimately it doesn't have the attack of a solid guitar. But, I think doing attacking staccato riffs is one very specific application that not everybody is doing. For your regular blues, for your regular whatever it might be, it's rock, even heavy rock, hard rock. Semi-hollow is, I think, light semi-hollow is just better. And it also makes the guitar lighter. So this guitar, even though it's a proper mahogany body and all of that, it's probably about 7-something pounds, maybe. So that's another advantage for those of you who do not like particularly heavy guitars. So let me just play a few sounds so that you get a feel of it, and then we'll just give you some final thoughts. Starting things off with a regular clean tone, you'll notice it's just a reasonably articulate guitar to begin with. Middle position. You know what, I'm going to just put it in the Marshall kind of preset where you can get a better sense. Slightly dirtier sound. So, clean. It's a Les Paul. That's a Les Paul right there. It's middle position. These are all very familiar tones. And then, of course, in the bridge position. Put in a bit of tube screamer. Off to the races. Now, suppose you want it to be a little bit brighter. All you've got to do is putting it in a cleaner tone. Middle position. Coil split it up. Already much brighter. Removing the reverb. This is middle position, both pickups, coil split. You're not going to get that on Les Paul usually. And say you wanted to put in some piezo. This is full piezo. So this is just neck, magnetic with a touch of piezo blended in. Pure magnetic, brighter with touch of piezo blended in. So depending on your need, you can just add in a little bit of high end. You know, the thing is, you'll be shocked how much this ability to add a little bit of presence can really help you out in a life situation. You know, that's what I really like about this guitar. And to conclude, what I'm saying is, if you're a Les Paul player, I get you, I understand you. I am also a Les Paul player. I also understand that you like the feel. You like the chunk of a Les Paul. Nothing quite does it for you. But at the same time, there are certain aspects of a Les Paul, the tuning stability, the sound, the lack of versatility, the lack of high end, maybe you're losing presence versus other members in your bands who have a single coil guitar. Those things can get very frustrating. I played with one Les Paul and one Strat in the band for a long time, and those things used to always frustrate me. So this is a great medium where you don't lose out on some of the things that you make a Les Paul what you like. Yes, you lose out on the fact that you don't have two separate volumes. If you want to do kill switch kind of effects using the volume knob, which I don't do because I don't want to mess up my guitar, I do it with the pedals. Yes, you can't do that. Yes, there are some in-between tones of Les Pauls where you blend the two different volumes, but I never use them, and I bet 99% of you don't either. So yeah, check this out. Again, there is a P245. There's SC245 doesn't have the piezo, loses out on that high-end ability. This is the P245, and I would highly recommend the semi-hollow, which was just a limited edition from 1 year in 2016. All right, folks, I'll see you next time.